So I kind of find this funny as I've talked about cloud-based gaming. Oh, shit. $10 off my next game purchase. I guess I can't use that anymore as the Stadia store is now closed. Why is that coupon even still there? But no, I've talked about this kind of stuff in the past quite a bit and shared my experiences, my thoughts, my outlooks on this type of thing. And typically the vast majority of my audience, the viewers, commenters, that kind of thing, have agreed with most of the stuff I've said, or they'll add on to it. I love that when you guys just kind of take the topic and just roll with it. And, it's cool to have that interaction. But I will have like this very small minority that are like, you're an old man. Just because I got some grays. Not my fault, genetics, dude. Like, you think I'm like 80 or something. Freaking ridiculous. But age doesn't really matter. They think like my mental capacity's been degrading as the days go on and I'm just losing it type of thing. But they'll be like, Stadia, cloud gaming is amazing. This is not the dystopian future you think it's going to be. It's awesome. Everybody's going to embrace it. This is the way. It's the only way. We don't want physical media. I'm like, hey, fair enough, dude. You can have your own damn opinions. Nobody's trying to take that away from you. But I hate to break it to you. The minority, the people who benefit, who see a positive with these types of things, they are not profitable, right? If you're just some tiny little, subset of the gaming community who buys into this stuff and pays $60 for a game, $80, $90 for a game, and enjoy it, that's great for you. But it's just kind of like the writings on the wall. There's no numbers being put out there. A while back, we talked about this in February of this year. Google Stadia died of dysentery, just kind of making a joke about it. But at the same time, there was legit news going on. Google had shut down their development studio for Stadia. Like, that's not a good thing. They were seeking partnerships with, like, Peloton. Isn't that, like, an exercise equipment thing? I don't Like, they were trying to find partnerships to keep this thing afloat. They were begging studios, when you announce a game, make sure you say it's going to be on Stadia as well. You have to help advertise. We can't be in this all alone. And it just wasn't working out, man. And now they are dead. It's gone. They sent out an email yesterday talking about how it's going away January 18th. If you still have Pro, which I paid for that crap for a year. And it was for content. Part of it was I forgot that I was subscribed. They just kept taking the $10 out a month. And I didn't notice it. That's how they get you, man. A lot of different services. Like they just, they'll bend you over. Just keep taking that money because you don't think about it, But it turned into content for me as I tried it over the months. And at first, it really sucked and didn't work for me. And I have really good internet, upload and download. And then at some point, months later, it just worked for me. And it worked great. And that was fine, but it still wasn't a service for me. Like, I don't like the idea of, like, I'm paying full price for a game, and it's being streamed off of somebody else's computer out there. Like, that's ridiculous. I don't want that. I don't need that in my life. And I see part of the argument concerning digital versus physical, which this is digital, but it's not on your computer. It's not on your device. It's somewhere else. But I typically see this thing with, regardless, and it's kind of true, but you have to understand what it really means is, just because you buy a physical game doesn't mean you really own the game. And I understand that. I don't buy, a movie and it's like, I own a piece of that movie. Like, I have stock in it now. No, as long as I have that media, I have license to use it and to view it and to utilize it. I understand that part of it. There isn't like you buy a Warner Brothers movie on Blu-ray and you talk shit about Warner Brothers online, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, screw this guy. They broke our terms of service. Let's click a button, boop, and now your physical media, you lost that license. You can't watch it anymore, right? No, it's not the way it works. Same thing with video games. As long as it's not like an online-only game and the server's shut down, which that sucks, but if it's a game that is single player and you don't need that online connectivity, as long as you have the hardware, you have the software, you could play it. Great. That's what I like. And then the other thing, too, is people will say, I don't like physical media, and that's fine. Because I embrace digital to a certain extent as well, but when I'm given the option to buy a physical version of a game, I go for it. Like Steam, I get it. Those are all digital games, but hey, I could have like 500 different PCs, and I'm going to play those games on every damn PC that I have. And that's fine. That's great. It goes with me type of thing. But, physical games, they retain, this isn't really a game, but just, back in the day, you'd have cartridges, right? And say you got sick of this, you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not really using this anymore. It retains value. You could trade it. You could sell it. You could let somebody borrow it. Exchange type of thing. You get rid of this, get Super Metroid, right? That's just the way it freaking was. You can't do that with digital. Till that changes, then I'm not going to be all in on digital. But I'm not against digital. People get that kind of twisted. But yeah, either way, like, it's just a license, but it can't be like revoked unless it's a specific service like Stadia, where that's the only way you could play the damn game and you lose it. But there is a good thing here, which it's, is it the light at the end of the tunnel for some people? Is it a huge positive? It's only a positive in that, like, hey, you invested time and money into this, you'll get your money back. You're not getting your time back, you'll get your money back. If you bought any hardware, the Founders Edition, which is what I bought, Premier Edition, or the Play and Watch package on the Google Store. Like, it's through the Google Store, not like secondary markets. If you bought games or add-on content, they're going to refund you to, by the end, January 18th. So this whole email goes over all that. So that's a good thing. It just sucks that you lost out on that if you bought into this, right? And that's why, like, I don't think this is the future. This specific platform to play these games on, and then it doesn't prove to be successful and you lose it. Google's notorious for shutting stuff down because they want to shut it down. And there's been a lot of like indie developers with Google Stadia who are venting frustrations, like they didn't get the heads up type of thing. And I understand Google's not going to give anybody the heads up because they want to make the announcement before a disgruntled developer gets pissed off and starts putting it out there first type of thing. I get it, but some of these developers I've seen out there, they said they were shocked by this. The writing was on the wall. Nobody should have been shocked, but it does suck if you're a developer putting in time and effort and money, especially like a small studio, putting in months to get a game up exclusively on Stadia, or just whatever they had to specifically do to put it on Stadia, and they had to put in time and work. That sucks. I've heard some say Google's left them in the dark on that. I've heard some say, well, they actually reached out and they're taking care of us type of thing. But they're going to be refunding this stuff. And they got me thinking, like, this couldn't have been, like, big enough. We knew it wasn't. Like, there weren't real numbers ever being put out there. But for them to say we're refunding everything, like, that would suck if they refund and then they like, hey, developers, we got to take that money back. I don't think that's the way it's going down. But they made those sales. So this is on like Google's side. They shuttered the service, and the companies should have made their money that sold games, right? But it just tells me that it was even less of a success than we thought it was, than it was, if they're able to just refund everything that was purchased, right? The future, my ass. I mean, I just think this service and services like it, cloud-based gaming on specific platforms, people just don't want it. Not en masse anyway. There's that minority, like I've said, but that minority is not profitable. It just doesn't work. And then the thing, too, is like, to utilize cloud-based gaming, you got to have decent internet. And there's latency involved, all that kind of stuff. And the infrastructure for internet, broadband, DSL, fiber, all that kind of stuff. Not everywhere has access to the best internet possible to utilize a service like this. So people who could actually benefit from cloud-based services because, maybe they don't have hardware, whatever, they can't even utilize this. So it just is not the time. Maybe this is a stepping stone. But with all these different platforms, you got Luna and stuff, but this is more like you're buying channels, so you're subscribing to stuff. But there's several things out there like this, and it's just, you got to have these failures to have successes in the future. And maybe there will be, bigger things that work out. But right now, Google Stadia has proved it's a fearful thing. What if they didn't refund all those games? People would be pissed, man. Like, I think sometimes they don't really care about bad press, but this time they didn't want that out there. Like, no, we're refunding everything. You're getting your money back. Don't trip. But, man, if they didn't do that, there is that fear. And then the time you invested in these games, that freaking sucks, dude. And then, I was thinking, as I used to have a lot more friends on here on Stadia, and I remember there was a bunch of people who had like promoted this. They received free units, said how great it was, and then you never seen them on the service. That speaks volumes. You promoted something and never freaking used it, said how great it was, but it wasn't your platform of choice, now was it? So yeah, I just had to do this follow-up. I've talked about Stadia since the beginning. Now it's the end, so that's where we're at. Let me know what you guys think. Really do appreciate every single one of y'all. Bye.